Okay, everybody, we're going to go over the pectoral girdle and a little bit of the arm. So make sure that you have your action sheet out. We're going to go in order, and I'm only going to talk about the ones that you have to know. Right away, you can pause this video and you can label, or you can try to identify, cover up your sheets if you already have them labeled, and look at this diagram that you have here. You have an anterior view here of the muscles, and on the model's right side, you can see the superficial, and the left side, you can see the deep. All right, so one's on the model's right side that you have to know. You can label your deltoid, just like your shoulder pad here. Here's the pec major. You can see a little bit of the latissimus dorsi, and then you can see the serratus anterior. Over here on the left side, you can see that the deltoid, the shoulder muscle, like your shoulder pad, has been peeled away. So now we're looking deeper. And you can see here's your pec minor, here's the pec major. So underneath that, it's going to be the minor. And then, so you have to know your deltoid, your pec minor. Also, you should see that your trapezius is up here. We'll look at that on the posterior view, but you can also see it here. So you should label that. And then you have your teres major right here. That little muscle, and you can see your serratus anterior. All right, while we are here, we're going to talk about your pec minor. Okay, so this is going to depress and protract the shoulder. Remember, protract, like with the mouth coming out, retract comes back. Okay, so it's going to protract and depress your shoulder. So it rotates your scapula. So the glenoid cavity, remember that's a cavity that the humerus goes into, that it moves inferiorly. So that is your pec minor. All right, while I'm on, this is the pec minor, this is the pec major. So the pec major, okay, is going to be the prime mover for your forearm flexion. Okay, it also will adduct, and it can medially rotate your shoulder. So remember, shoulder flexion, medial rotation, adduction. So, you know, when do you do that? All right, so if you were climbing, grabbing something, or even throwing or pushing, that would be your pec major. Since we're on this slide too, you can see superficially the serratus anterior. I always think like it looks like a serrated knife. And you can see it here even better, attaching to the ribs. You should be able to see ribs 1 through 9 is where it originates. And then let's go over the actions. So this is the prime mover to protract the shoulder. This is your boxer's muscle. Okay, so this is involved in the pushing or the punching. All right, so it's going to protract the shoulder. So your glenoid cavity moves more superiorly when that happens. So you guys can do that action so you can see that. It does like if you're punching, so what did I do? I abducted my arm. Okay, it does raise your arm a little bit, but like that boxer's muscle, that is your serratus anterior. I'm going to wait for your trapezius, but your deltoid, excuse me, the deltoid. Deltoid is pretty cool. It has, this is like, I always say it's like where your shoulder pads would be, like if you had a pad on your shoulder. So this is your, this has an anterior part and it has a posterior part. And so this is prime mover for abduction. Okay, so abduction, it also flexes the arm, it also medial rotates it. Okay, that's what the anterior part does. So it's pretty cool because it has an anterior function and it has a posterior function. So anterior is flexion, adduction, medial rotation. I'm sorry, I just said adduction. Flexion, okay, flexion, this is Murphy's Law. Flexion, medial rotation, and abduction. Okay, so the anterior is that. The posterior part does the opposite. That's why it's cool. Okay, so anterior is flexion, posterior is extension. Okay, anterior is medial rotation. Posterior part of your deltoid is lateral rotation. Okay, so the deltoid is an interesting one. It's really easy to identify, but it does have those functions. Prime mover for arm abduction. It also flexes the arm. Medial rotates if it's anterior. If it's posterior, it is going to extend and then laterally rotate. All right, so make sure you listen to my video because I said I had a mistake there. Let's see what else we can see on here. I think I'm going to go to another diagram. Yes. All right, so let's look here. Take a minute to label. So here you can see that posterior deltoid. That's going to be extension. You can kind of see how it would pull the arm back. Deltoid you want to label trapezius. You can see the huge trapezius muscle here. And on this diagram, you can also see the infraspinatus right here. That's one you have to do. And then the large latissimus dorsi. So on this right side here, you can really see more of the superficial muscles, and then the trapezius and the lats are taken off on the left side here. And over here on this side, you should label your, you can look at your serratus anterior and the latissimus dorsi. And then always you can practice, and look at the obliques from a different view as well, your sternocleidomastoid. So your trapezius, this stabilizes and it helps you retract. Okay, adduct your scapula. This is going to be your shrugging muscle. Okay, stabilizes, raises, or elevates and retracts. This is your trapezius, your shrugging muscle. Your latissimus dorsi. A lot of you have probably done that lat pull before. Okay, so the lat pull machine is something everyone's familiar with, but your lats are the prime movers for extension. Okay, so if you think of that power stroke when you're hammering or when you're swimming, okay, and your arms come back, or if you're rowing, that's going to be the latissimus dorsi. So prime mover for arm extension, and if you're swimming and you bring your arms, you adduct them, that is a function as well as the latissimus dorsi, and it also has submedial rotation. The next muscles I want to get to are your rotator cuff muscles, and you can see your supraspinatus right here, and we can see the infraspinatus right here. Here's your teres minor right here, and we do have to know the teres major. That is not considered a rotator cuff one. And so we're supposed to see the subscapularis, we have to go to a different view. Right, this one I am going to show you because I like how this one is shown. So if we are looking posteriorly, remember there's the spine of the scapula, and there was a fossa called the supraspinous fossa, and then there's an infraspinous fossa. Well, this is where the supraspinous fossa would be, and this is your supraspinatus. So I know I'm going out of order. All right, but this basically initiates abduction. And you hear about these rotator cuff muscles a lot with the throwing movements. And so this muscle prevents the downward dislocation so that the shoulder doesn't totally dislocate and come out of a joint on a downward motion. So this is your supraspinatus because it's in the supraspinous fossa. Now let's look here. On the anterior side, there is a subscapularis, and that's the first one. All right, and so there is on the other side of the scapula, you have a subscapular fossa, and the subscapularis muscle is right there in that fossa. Okay, that fossa gives it room. And so this muscle is your chief medial rotator. Okay, so this takes the head of the humerus and it holds it in that glenoid cavity. So this is more of the medial rotator. So if, like lots of people have rotator cuff problems, it's because of all of these muscles get irritated, and the shoulder is it's a looser joint. It's not as stable. Here is your teres major, just to show that right there. But we're going to go to another. Here we go. This is the diagram I wanted to get to. So we did the subscapularis, but now here you can see the supraspinatus. You can see the infraspinatus. So this is in the supraspinous fossa. This is in the infraspinous fossa. And the infraspinatus rotates the humerus laterally. Okay, so it's going to hold the head of the humerus laterally, and the same thing for the teres minor. So you can kind of see like how they're shaped, why they would do the same thing, and then where they're located with their attachments. Okay, so both the infraspinatus and the teres minor rotate the humerus laterally. The teres major, you can see it's lower, and this helps extend. So more of that motion when the arm goes back, and this helps medially rotate and adduct the shoulder. And I think that is it.